does it feel having somebody in college now?
It went by fast, meaning that from when we dropped her off August, she moved in on her 18th birthday.
Aw.
Yeah, it was so sad. I was just talking about it with my hairstylist earlier today. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. I was a mess when she left, right? I was that mom that couldn't let go of her, crying. And then, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen to our relationship. And believe it or not, moms tell me this all the time, but not until you actually experience it yourself. So then we've become even closer. Like when they say, "Oh, we become best friends," or like that whole thing. I mean, she knows I'm still her mom, but now because she's an adult now, she'll talk to me about. I mean, I think we've just established that relationship that she wants to tell me all the things. So, yeah, I think we talk. I think we talk more now than we did even when she lived at home.
Wow.
So there's hope.
So it's possible.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's hope. I don't know what's going to happen with my sons. I don't know if they're going to call me like 5 times a day. Because my sister, she has a son who's in college now, and she was just like, "Yeah, I don't hear from him."
You just gotta get in good with the girlfriends.
Yes.
That way.
Let's go
hang out with your mom.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, my son has a girlfriend, and I love her, and so I think that's why we're still really close. Yes, it's true. And I love her parents too, so that's helpful.
Makes it easy.
True.
So what does business look like for you right now as a mom?
Oh, geez. Things have changed a lot since we last spoke. I sold the business, but I'm still working for the practice.
I was going to say, I had no idea because I keep up on your social media.
Yeah. I didn't really make it. We didn't really make it public because we're still there. Mm-hmm. And it's just given me more freedom. So maybe that's why you think I look more youthful.
I was going to say, you walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, hello. You look so much more like you aged in reverse.
Yes. And so I think because I put all the systems in place to get to this point.
Was this always your plan, by the way, or did it happen after? Okay.
Yes. So that was always the plan,
woman.
to build the practice to eventually run by itself. I am still there, still the face. I mean, it's not just me. That's the face of the practice, right? Yeah. All my other associates and doctors are still part of the practice and the face of the practice. But we've built the practice to run on its own, and I'm still there. So I love that part. That I still, being a pediatric dentist, right? I get to watch these kids grow from kindergarten all the way through college, and that's how I feel the practice is like. That now it's an adult. I've grown it to where it should be, and I can let go a little bit. So I think just as I was letting go of my daughter, I started the practice, and I had Olivia at the same time. So they were like my first babies. And I've gotten into a place in my life as a mom and as a businesswoman where I can actually let go and feel good about it and live my life with like so much joy and gratitude. Whereas 10 years ago, I was like in the trenches, like producing, working real hard, having all that mom guilt because I was working on the practice and, not being that mom that got to drop off her kids and kind of do all those things. And I thought that was what I should have been doing sometimes. But now it's just so much better.
What does life look like for you right now? I'm like trying to put myself in your place. The kids are gone. The business is not necessarily, you're not in the trenches with the business.
Yes. Yeah. So now instead of working, I'm sure you've heard this before, instead of working in the business, I'm working on the business. So I still see patients 2 days a week. And so my other days are focused on, again, the marketing, the systems, and leading the practice, but not necessarily always treating the patients. So it's more of a global visionary type of role. And I started another business.
Okay.
I am now, I have a female dentalpreneur blueprint where I want to help other female dentists market, lead, put their systems in place so that they can create the life of their dreams as well.
That's who you showed up as today, by the way. That's why I didn't recognize you when you came in. You came in as like power boss, you know, like feeling.
Well, thank you, because that's how I'm feeling. Because now that I've lived it, and I have so many like colleagues or other dentists just sort of look at me like, how are you doing this? And so I was like, I think that's what I'm now called to do.
That's amazing. So what does that look like? Because I know a lot of dentists, at least local dentists, orthodontists, follow this specific show.
Yes.
So what does that look like?
So they can reach. I already have a few clients already where I'm thinking about doing a webinar, so more of a course group when more people are wanting my services and my help. Currently, I'm doing one-on-ones. Because I'm really doing like deep dives. I'm going into their practices.
Which, by the way, this is the best time for anybody. I know this is like when you're at that the launch phase, you are going to give so much of yourself.
Exactly.
At this phase.
Yes.
A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll have systemized it, and it'll be more of your systems and processes, not like you.
Correct.
So if anybody's listening to this,
it's just like my practice, right? That is exactly what it is. It's just a new transformation on now I'm showing what I did before and showing all the mistakes that I went through, and now I can be their guide and their coach and somebody. It's like I'm in their back pocket because I've been there, I've done that. And I want to help them because even though I loved my journey and I'm so grateful for my journey, I also I feel like that's part of my legacy, that I can now help others get to where they want to be faster.
Yeah. So smart.
Yeah.
I love that. What a great way to like continue giving and pouring into the community.
Yes. Yes. And so the other thing that you were asking me is the other days are, I don't know if you saw on my social media, is I'm really going to do mission trips. And so this is my second time going to Guatemala. And I think that is my other way of giving back to sort of a larger community.
How'd you get involved with that? What do you do?
There was another oral surgeon locally here that started this organization over 20 years. And it was always on my to-do list, but doing all the other things that I was doing, I just could never, I never made it a priority at that point. Every year I would just sort of look at my goals and it was always there, but I just didn't know how I could step away from the practice, step away from my kids, just sort of all that kind of stuff. And then I finally said, you know what, this is really important. And so then it jumped up my list.
Priority list.
And then when I went, and the relationships that I made with that community and all the other dentists there that needed us and valued us to come because their community didn't have the help and the need that they came. So I made it, I changed my schedule around just this year just to make sure. They changed the dates on me and I had already, had patients, and I just kind of switched it around. And, the patients were so understanding because they knew what I was doing and where I was going. So I'm doing it annually, and eventually I do want to go at least twice a year. It's crazy to change, just like what you said, like, what does your week look like? Whereas before it was very regimented. This is what I'm doing. And so now it's evolving to, okay, it's 2 days. And so, people think, gosh, you don't do anything the other 3 days. And I was like, that is not true.
Yeah.
Right. And it's marketing again. It's putting my systems in place, and then just really finding my people and going out there. I'm part of other, what are they called? Like women's groups from different organizations. And then we really are just like you, just talking about how it's all relatable. We don't have to be in the same industry. But I mean, even just talking to you, you even understand what I'm going through. Because I think that's where the connection really lies, is no matter what industry you're in, especially as a woman, we can all relate to what we're going through.
I love that. In terms of how you are marketing and growing the second business, do you see yourself Like, how do you see yourself marketing that?
Organically. So it's crazy that I haven't even marketed yet, and yet I have clients already, because it was sort of, I must be having this vibe that you just saw me walking through, that people are already coming to me without, like, I don't have,
like, what's new?
Right.
What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. I don't have my website yet, but like I'm working on it, because I don't want to then feel overwhelmed of, okay, now I just opened the store and I'm not completely like
ready for all of this yet. Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? It's sort of just like when I open my practice, you kind of say, okay, here it is. And then all of a sudden you always have to just be one step ahead. And I'm trying to put the rest of my life like completely in order before this next, because I'm still practicing, right? And so I don't want to let that go. And so it's really, I've been doing a lot of traveling, just trying to get kind of that stuff, enjoying that part of my life. Not that it's going to end, but you know what I mean. I'm just trying to figure out what my new balance is going to be, because I had such a I had a great gig going on. And then people are looking at me like, what are you doing now? And I was like, I feel like that's honestly what I'm being called to do.
Yeah. May I make a suggestion?
Yes, of course.
So I don't want to put another thing on your plate of having your own podcast or your own channel similar to like what I'm doing.
Yes.
But I think that would be a great idea, but I know you've got a lot on your plate, is start opening yourself up for opportunities where you're the guest.
Yes. That is on my list. So that's why when it was called and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and say I have 3 or 4 I'll refer over to you that I think you'd be, where they've got thousands of dentists and orthodontist followers that I think would be a great,
I love it.
You would be a great person to be on their show.
I mean, I really think that throughout my career, every single person that I've ever met, like, I always think it's always about relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a reason.
And that's your reputation, by the way, in the community, is you're very relationship driven. So anyways, continue.
I like to hear that, because and that's truly what I believe, right? I don't think of you as just X, right? And I've always loved following you. And every time I meet somebody, it's not for, I just think that there is a reason why we've met. Yeah. And I never burn bridges, because I'm always open to, and so I think that that's important. And I think that's where sometimes people miss that part. Yeah. Is the true relationships, and it's not a transaction. It's actually just, I'm so grateful to meet you. Yeah. And to learn about you and to let other people know what you do, because I think we're all connected and we're all in this amazing community, and there's so much that people have to offer, and they all have a purpose.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, my next question to you selfishly is, how do you prepare for something, for all business owners, whether you're a female or not, how do you prepare your business for you to be able to move on to that next phase, whether you're selling it, whether you're still involved in it, whether, I guess those are the 2 options, right? You either sell it 100% or you still have part ownership or responsibilities for so long.
What exactly do you mean by how do you prepare for that?
How do you prepare your business? Because a lot of business owners are either solopreneurs, they've got 2 or 3 other people that are helping them.
Okay.
Is there anything in terms of how you prepare your clients, or how you prepare your books, or how you set up your business so
how you set up your business to sell is what your question is?
Yes.
Yeah. Good question. I think it depends on the industry, because I know the industry that I'm in and what these private equity firms are looking for. They're looking for a business that has systems in place. Right?
What do you mean by systems? I know what you mean for our listeners.
So systems for everything. Actually, so in the healthcare field, it's systems in the front, from the first, how you answer the phone, how you book the appointment. Because when you get to a certain size, yes, it is about the people 100%, and there is a message and there's an expectation that the client or the patient is wanting or is expecting, right? Sort of like at a hotel. You know, when you go to the Ritz-Carlton, you expect this kind of service. And so when you get to a certain size, you need to make sure that your team understands the vision of the practice, the core values. And so when you start developing that, that's why when you interact with every person in the practice, you get that same exceptional service. So it goes with that part. And so that's the front end of it. And then the back end is obviously making sure that the accounting is done properly, that the marketing is done properly, and that you're sending the same message throughout, right? So it's vision, core values, starting with leadership. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. So it sounds like it's really focused around systems is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So that everything is always executed and doesn't lean on you.
Correct. So that's exactly right. That's where I could step away because the training has been done properly, because it starts from the top. It starts from the leadership where the team understands what the message needs to be delivered, what is their expectation and what is the client's expectation.
What's been the hardest thing about the process?
About selling the practice? In the beginning, it was the fear of the unknown. That was something that I started. And so it's sort of like that letting go part. And for us, because it's not like I left. So I think that would have been a harder transition, was to leave. And I don't plan on leaving. That part just gave me the freedom, the financial freedom, the freedom to step away and, and have other doctors also partake in taking care of the patients. And then for me to be able to do other things that I am called to do. So the hardest part in the beginning was not knowing how I was going to feel about it not being mine.
100% yours, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, yes.
Yeah. When it's not, yeah. And so it's right, we're going on 3 years. And
3 years? You've sold this 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. Why did I think it just happened? Which is great, because that means it's been so seamless.
Correct. And so that's why, and then it's been seamless with our team. It's been seamless with our patients, because we didn't make a big announcement, because we wanted everyone to know that we are the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we didn't think that it was necessary to make a huge announcement on that, because you still get the same service, the same everything. And that we chose to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you like now about your new position within the business?
Yeah. I feel lighter, because I don't feel that it's all on me anymore, because we have the backing of a corporation behind us. When we sold during COVID. And so that was before we sold, COVID was a little rocky for us, but because we had the systems in place, COVID was more of a speed bump than a huge roadblock for us. And now that we have a corporate behind us, if anything like that ever happened again, we wouldn't feel as stressed, because now we have other backing behind us and additional systems in place. And what I love about our corporation is that they are not, they believe in the dentists are the leaders. And so they're not kind of coming in trying to tell us how to run, because that's why we are together, because they believed in us and they're like letting us continue to lead and not telling us what to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you still get to call the shots.
Correct. Yes. So that's why exactly. We still get to call the shots. But then if we have questions, like if we have HR questions, or if we have all these things, that now we just pick up the phone and ask, instead of like, oh, I have to call a lawyer, or I have to do whatever. Yeah. Like we already have those.
A team in place that's ready to
yes.
act on your behalf.
Yes. So that's been great too. And like my kids are older, and so I get to really, not that I didn't spend time with them when they were younger. I think I'm just in this different season now in my life, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, and then my kids are older, that we're just having just really great conversations about life. And I think that when they grew up in the practice, right? The practice was a second home to them. Like they could run around, like, 'cause that's what we did. On the weekends we were there. I'm sure you know what it's like.
Yep.
They live here. And I think now that Olivia's in college, she doesn't know anything else to do but be some sort of business owner of, I'm not saying she's necessarily going to be a dentist, but I think she saw that life and
It's normal for her.
correct. That's normal for her.
How about your husband?
Oh yeah, he loves it too. So
He used to do all the marketing.
he is, yeah, and he's still doing it. Yeah, he's still part of the practice too. Yeah, but he's loving it too because again, I think for us, we can breathe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's what we, Mike and I, we built this from the beginning, and that was the dream, right? Was for him to be a part of the practice, to build it, to sell it, so that then, so we got here sooner than we thought. And so now that's why this next chapter is so new to us because, when we were in our 20s, we thought we were going to be doing this until we were in our 60s. Like, that's just what we thought because we were in so much debt. We didn't know where that point was going to be. We just assumed that point was going to be in our 60s. Since I'm still in my 40s, I'm like, well, what are we going to do for another 20 years?
I think it's a good problem to have, though.
Right? And so that's what's so exciting. And that's why this time, this second chapter, is now we don't have that debt anymore. So now we can really dream big and just do what we're called to do and not have that financial, don't get me wrong, that financial bit in the beginning is what gave me the drive to do what I did because I had to pay the bills. I had to do all these things.
Payroll's coming.
Correct, right? Every time. Always one step ahead.
That's right.
Right? And so that's why this time it's even more exciting because now I can serve more, I can give more because that part isn't as, right? It's
heavy
not, it's not as heavy. That's the word.
So in terms of like looking ahead 5-10 years, I know you said that you're essentially moving into phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about opening up any additional practices or is that done? Has that?
No, that is not closed.
Okay.
That is not. Currently, so our group has multiple, right? There's lots of practices here. There's a few practices here in Northern Virginia that are part of our group. No, we are opening up not we per se, but there are other pediatric offices around different states.
Got it.
That I will probably help in the background.
Yeah.
So whether it's me, whether it's Nova PDO, or if it's another, I am definitely going to be part of our organization to help build. I could be in the background.
Where's Olivia going to school at?
She is in College of Charleston. She's
There we
in
go.
South Carolina. We are in South Carolina. Yeah, we are in North Carolina as well. Those are Virginia and North Carolina currently are the biggest states that we're in. We have a few in South Carolina, and I think we have one in Alabama. We're obviously going to continue to grow. And so it's all group specialties. So it's mostly GPs, but there's also pediatric dentistry, orthodontics, oral surgery, endodontics. So we kind of have every specialty. And I know that pedo is going to be a growing.
Is that the name of the?
Oh, the name of our organization is Lightwave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, what are some of your biggest lessons or values that you feel like you've accumulated over the last 10, 15 years?
Making sure you stay healthy is number one, right? What did they say? Health is wealth. Wealth is health, something, right? And so I think that is one for me, that self-care is what is probably number one in order for me to be able to do what I've done. I've always made it a priority no matter what, even after having all the babies and doing all the things. I made sure, and it could be little, I mean, not that little things. I mean, all the little things add up, whether it's your hydration, just getting out into nature for 15 minutes sometimes, just a fresh breath air. When you're in that moment or season of overwhelm, is self-care, making sure, I mean, for me, family is my why, right? So I think having that purpose and that why will continue to give you strength no matter what season you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. And sometimes you don't realize how important things are, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, how important things are until, after the fact, or
Yes.
whether it's because you don't have it or because you look back and you're like, oh my God, you're 16. Where have all the years gone? I've spent them at my studio, or I've spent them doing other things. So you're like, oh, if I could just go back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so to make sure that you have those core values so that you don't always have those little potential regrets going back. Because I've thought about those things too, and I've asked my daughter if those things, and she goes, Mom, no, that didn't matter to me. Like, I love watching you. Like, she was just like, you're right. She was just like, you're the boss, right? And she loved that. And so that made me feel, so I think so much of it is in our heads as moms. And then when you can actually ask your daughter when she's older to be like, were you upset that I didn't take you to drop off school every day?
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't even remember that part. And so I was
like, oh, go ahead.
Exactly, right? So I think as a working mom, that's always a thing that especially as an entrepreneur, when it's not a 9-to-5 job, right? No matter where you are, even when you're on vacation. Sorry, kids, we have to run payroll for a hot second. Right?
Payroll 15 minutes.
Yes.
Give me a second.
Right? And they get that.
Yeah.
And I think that shows that, we still love them and we still have responsibilities. And they know that, right, when we have a team, that we're responsible for our team. Like, the team relies on us too.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great lesson to show our kids that we can do it.
Yeah. And they can watch the journey.
Yes.
Be a part of the journey.
Yes.
In terms of some of the biggest lessons or the biggest breakthroughs that you're hoping that your coaching clients are going to be able to receive or go through with you, is there anything specific that you're either already seeing in terms of breakthroughs with them, or anything that you're like, I can't wait to really help them do X, Y, and Z because it's a big need?
Yeah. Well, I think the systems part is huge, because in our field, no one ever taught us business school, right? We're good at doing fillings and extractions and at root canals. But then to think that you can then go from dental school and then open up your own practice, or even as an associate, to know any of the business side of it, we didn't learn any of that. And so when I'm working with my clients and they're just going on, and there's nothing wrong with it, like going on Facebook groups and asking questions, you don't necessarily know if you're getting, right? It's just like asking Dr. Google and thinking that you know the answer.
What is this rash?
Right. I think it's this, right? And so sometimes people are leading the blind.
Blind leading the blind, yeah.
Right. And when I'm working with my clients and they're saying, oh, I didn't know that. And I was like, that's okay. Like, I didn't know that either. And so this is why, right? So I'm just getting them to point C faster, right? Everybody will get there. I'm just trying to help them get there faster. And then I think, at least with the clients that I'm currently working with, I'm allowing them to feel very vulnerable. I think when you're in certain groups that everybody wants to be like, yeah, everything's fine, right? Everything's fine. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to have that, in front of patients, that right? Nobody needs to know our business. But then I want to be able to be that person that they can be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
life is hard. Like, we might say it to our husbands, but they don't completely get it. You know, you can have, but I want to be that outlet for them, to be completely vulnerable and honest, to be like, I really don't know what this is. Or I'm having a really hard time with being a good wife and a mom and doing this business thing. Is this the right thing? Like I have
Here's a system for that.
all the yes. And let's just talk it through, because when you just have that other person to talk to and that really understands, that's so much, right? I've worked with coaches myself, and the coaches that I work with, not everybody was a dentist. So I think that as throughout my career, I didn't really get that connection. So I think that that's where I can be different, is because I am a dentist. I have gone through all the things, and I'm here for you, right? I'm not a competitor, like any of those kind of things, right? So I think that that's where they're like, okay, now I can really let my guard down and tell you the honest truth. Like, whatever it is, I'm in so much debt. I don't even know how I can meet payroll. You know, I remember when I was pregnant with my third, and my team came to me and they said, you need to take more than a 2-week maternity leave. Right? Because they knew what it was like when I took 2 weeks, but I just had all that weight on my shoulders, and I just kept going because I felt like I needed to. And so I just want to be that person for this other woman to like say that it's okay. Right?
I've been there, done that. Everything's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be okay. Yes. And let me help you put other things in place. Right. It's sort of like, let's vision out, like let's figure out and work and reverse engineer. What is it that, I mean, everybody's goals are different, right? I'm not saying that everybody has to have the same goals as I did. What are your goals? And I will help you reach them.
Yeah.
And reverse engineer it to be like, okay, what do we want? Let's even break it down. 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 1 quarter, 1 month, right? Let's hammer it out. Because I think when they have that guide and a roadmap, then that, again, makes everybody be able to breathe a little bit, because they know that there's a roadmap. Sometimes when you're so deep in the weeds and you're in the trenches that you can't even see the roadmap, because you're just like trying to gulp for air. Yes. Yeah. You're just trying to like get to the top and breathe.
I love that you really integrate the person's lifestyle as well into it. It's not just strictly business.
Oh,
it's like
yeah, no, they are, I don't even think you can separate them. I think you have to integrate them. And so that's why when I say balance, it's not 50-50. It's certain seasons in your life you'll have to pay more attention to potentially one than the other. And that's where you have to communicate. You have to communicate to your team. I mean, we do that. And we do that as a team. When a team member is having like something going on personally, we want to know that so that we can help lift them up. To be like, that's what a team is about. To be like, okay, so and so is having a rough time right now. We have to help him or her so that, you know, we carry each other, right? I say that, right? When my daughter was leaving for college, and I was, you know, like as we were getting up to it, I would come to my morning meeting practically in tears to be like, I'm having a rough time, guys. And I mean, I would cry with my patients, right? Because I'd have other moms to be like, how are you doing, Dr. Val? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I think that the more vulnerable and the more truthful I was, I think that that's why these parents and I have such great connections with these families, is because they've seen me through it. They've seen me from when when Olivia was 5 months old to now in college. And, you know, and to some of, I call them my OG patients that, you know, my very first families that are still with me, they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's in college. So like, it's like a big family. Yeah. And the more I'm just me, So that's why I don't think you can separate it. You have to, it's all, and then we talk about other things. We talk about my running routine or what are you doing? And so I'm happy to tell you what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Because
What's your morning routine? What's your skincare routine?
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then I didn't even know that there was a night routine until, I don't know, like 5 years ago. Then I was just like, oh, I got to have a night
Get the
routine.
PM routine.
Yeah, right. What's the P? Right, I was so focused on the morning routine that I didn't even know that there was a. I mean, the only thing that I did, I think, before I actually had an evening routine was I would get my running clothes ready in the nighttime so that when the alarm went off and I didn't want to run, I was just like, okay, I have it all settled.
Yeah,
But,
that's smart.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you should, or I think that it's important that, especially as an entrepreneur, that it's all together. It's it's very hard to have lines to be like, this is personal, this is business, because I think that as an entrepreneur, it's just
yeah. Okay, so to wrap things up, what is kind of your life's motto or something that you find yourself either saying to yourself or to people that are near and dear to your heart again and again?
Ooh, there's a couple. I know we talked about this for Loud in 100, and it's still with me, and it's a nice little tie, right? It's smile, it's see miracles in life every day. That's always top of my mind. And it's really just finding the joy really in everything, the joy and the gratitude to be here. And I think when you're having not that great day, it's having this interaction and be like, gosh, like I should be so grateful that I have this opportunity to be here today, to have this conversation, to spread. And so that's what it is. I try to teach that with my kids is what is the one, like pick one joyful thing that happened to you today. And then your life will be just glorious, right? I mean, how can that not be a good day if you could find one thing, and you can, because you're alive.
I love that in the evening for dinner, when we're having dinner as a family, we go over our highs and lows. And so everybody goes around the table. What was your high moment? What was your low moment?
Correct.
And you see the kids kind of searching, and they're like, oh yeah, I was really excited when this thing happened.
Yeah.
And it helps us like refocus.
Refocus, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My daughter's going through some things right now, and I was just like, and then she was just like, thank you for making my day. And I was like, see? It's just like the day is not over.
Yeah.
Right? The day is not over. You will find something in this world that made it good.
And that makes you feel good to be able to have that connection with her, I'm sure, as a mom.
Yes, yeah, because if she's far away and she's just like, this is not good. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's FaceTime. Let's figure it out. Want me to show you a picture of the dog? I don't know, like something, right? Dogs always make you happy.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate all your knowledge.
This is so fun.